When I arrived at my sister's wedding venue, they told me, "Staff enters through the back." I wasn't wearing a tuxedo, just my work clothes. My aunt chuckled. Guess someone didn't get the dress code. But the next day, I was offered $10,000 to stay quiet about what I saw behind that kitchen door. When I pulled up to the Maple Creek Country Club, I already knew I didn't belong there. Not because I wasn't invited. I was, technically. But the look the valet gave me when I got out of my truck said it all. Old Chevy, a little rust on the side, toolbox in the bed. My work boots hit the gravel and I saw him wrinkle his nose like I'd just stepped in something foul. "Sir," he started. "Event guests typically arrive through the front, valet only." I glanced at the entrance, where a line of black town cars and shiny SUVs stretched down the loop. "I'll park myself," I muttered, jerking my thumb toward the side lot. I wasn't trying to make a scene. I just finished a long shift fixing a broken chiller in a hotel basement across town. Didn't have time to run home and change. Didn't think it mattered. My sister Noelle was getting married, and even if we hadn't talked much lately, I figured showing up was the bare minimum. Family, right? Apparently, I figured wrong. I parked behind the staff entrance, next to a catering van. The air smelled like grilled salmon and flower arrangements. I tried to find the main entrance, cutting across the back courtyard. That's when a guy in a tight black vest and an earpiece stopped me. "Staff goes through the back," he said, not even looking at me, just pointed toward the kitchen door. "I'm not staff," I said, showing him the fancy embossed invitation Noelle mailed me 2 months ago. "I'm the bride's brother." He blinked, looked me up and down. I had grease on my sleeves, a sweat ring on the back of my polo. My name, though, was stitched over the chest. It wasn't tuxedo material, I'll admit that. But it was clean. He gave a quick nod, stepped aside. "Apologies, sir. This way." I walked past him, and right at that moment, I heard my Aunt Marla's laugh, loud and nasal, like a goose honking in a tunnel. "Guess someone didn't get the dress code," she said as I passed by. My shoulders tensed. I gave her a nod and didn't stop. She was always like that, mouth first, thoughts later. Or never. Inside, the country club was like a palace. Marble floors, chandeliers, ice sculptures already melting under the lights. People in designer suits and floor-length gowns floated around like they were auditioning for a reality show. I felt like someone's +1 who got lost on the way to a coat check. I spotted my mom talking to Noelle near the bar. Noelle looked, well, beautiful, honestly. Hair curled just right, dressed like something out of a bridal magazine. She was glowing. She always had this way of making people orbit around her. Bright smile, big energy. The kind of person who walks into a room and you know she's the reason everyone's there. Brandon, her fiancé, was nowhere in sight. I didn't miss him. Noelle saw me waved. "Theo, you made it." "Barely," I said, walking over. "They almost had me washing dishes out back." She laughed, kissed my cheek. "Ignore them. You look great." I gave her a look. She rolled her eyes. "Okay, fine. You look like someone who just rolled out of a crawl space, but I'm glad you're here." We didn't hug. That was something we stopped doing years ago. The ceremony was outside, under a white tent. It was all scripted. The kind of wedding where even the laughter felt rehearsed. When they said, "I do," the crowd clapped on cue. I stood in the back, next to a guy I think was a cousin but couldn't be sure. We made small talk about the weather and how expensive the place looked. I watched Brandon the whole time. His smile looked too wide, too controlled, like a mask that didn't quite fit. After the ceremony, I tried to blend in. Had a drink. Ate a few shrimp. Got ignored by every waiter who passed me, like they could smell the blue collar on me. I ended up near the side hall, next to a staff-only sign. I was just trying to get away from the noise. That's when I heard voices. Not loud. Not arguing. But sharp. The kitchen door was cracked open, and I heard Brandon's voice. Low tense. "You told me she wouldn't show." "I thought she wouldn't," another man said. "She said she was done." "Then why the hell did she show up here, Tony? Do you realize what she could have done if she'd gotten to Noelle?" Tony said something I couldn't hear. "She's a liability," Brandon snapped. "Handle it." I froze. My heart kicked up. Brandon's voice again. "I swear if this blows up in my face." The door opened wider. I stepped back. One of the kitchen staff, a girl maybe in her 20s, stepped out and saw me. "You're not supposed to be back here," she said. "Sorry," I muttered. "Looking for the restroom." She narrowed her eyes but didn't say anything else. I walked away, heart hammering. I couldn't unhear what I just heard. Back in the main hall, the speeches had started. I stood at the edge of the crowd, eyes on Brandon. He was laughing, holding Noelle's hand, looking like the perfect husband. But his jaw was tight. His smile never reached his eyes. I left before the dancing started. I told Noelle I wasn't feeling great. She looked a little disappointed, but nodded. The next morning, there was a knock on the door of my cheap motel room. I opened it to find a man in a gray suit holding an envelope. "Mr. Holbrook?" he asked. "Yeah. This is for you." He handed me the envelope. Thick. Heavy. "What is this?" "A gift. From Mr. Carter." "Brandon?" I asked, already knowing. The man nodded. "For your discretion." I opened the envelope. $10,000 in $100 bills. "I don't want this," I said. "You should," he said. "It's more than fair." He turned and walked away. I sat down on the edge of the bed and stared at the money. I didn't sleep that night. Next day, I went looking for the girl who caught me outside the kitchen. Took some asking around, but I found her at the catering company's office, Blythe. That was her name. "I don't know what you think you heard," she said at first. "I heard enough," I told her. "I'm not trying to ruin anyone's life. But if something shady's going on, I want to know the truth." "For Noelle." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "There was a woman. She came during prep. Said she needed to speak to the bride. One of the kitchen guys recognized her. Said she used to be with the groom. She wasn't loud or crazy or anything. Just upset. Security made her leave." "You know her name?" I asked. She nodded. "Mallory. I found her 2 days later. She was staying at the Red Roof in outside town. Room 312. She opened the door in a hoodie and leggings. Hair a mess, face pale. Looked like she hadn't slept in a week." "You Theo?" she asked. "Yeah." She let me in. "I know what you're here for," she said. "And you deserve to know." She lit a cigarette with shaking fingers and sat on the edge of the bed like her legs couldn't hold her weight anymore. The room smelled like ash and cheap hotel soap. A duffel bag sat by the door, half-zipped, like she'd been ready to leave but couldn't quite bring herself to do it. "I didn't want to go to the wedding," she started, exhaling slowly. "I swear I didn't. I told myself 100 times that I was done with him, that I'd move on. But I couldn't shake it. Knowing he was marrying someone else. Your sister. After everything." I sat in the cheap chair by the window. The kind with a worn patch on the armrest and upholstery that looked like it hadn't been cleaned in a decade. "You were with him?" I asked. "For almost 2 years," she said, eyes fixed on the little plume of smoke curling toward the ceiling. "Started casual. Then serious. Then it got complicated." "Complicated how?" "I got pregnant," she said. No pause. No drama in the way she said it. Just a fact. Like she'd already worn the grief threadbare. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. "What happened?" "Lost the baby. 24 weeks. Placental abruption. There one day, gone the next." I swallowed hard. Didn't know what to say. "I'm sorry." She gave a small nod, still not looking at me. "Brandon was there?" "At first. Then he started pulling away. Work excuses, travel, phone calls cut short. I asked him if there was someone else. He lied. Said no. Said he just needed space." "You didn't know about Noelle?" "Not at first. He kept it quiet. But a friend of mine saw them together at some charity thing. That's when I started digging." I sat back, trying to absorb it all. This wasn't some fling. This wasn't a jealous ex lashing out. This woman had been part of his life for years, while he was supposedly building a future with my sister. "What were you going to say to her?" I asked. "At the wedding?" She laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. "I don't even know. I just wanted her to see my face. To see the woman he left behind. The one he pretended didn't exist." I rubbed my jaw, heart pounding like a drum in my chest. "He paid someone to follow you. To keep you away." "I know," she said. "He sent someone to my apartment last week. Said if I showed up, he'd ruin my life. Said I was unstable. That I'd harass his fiancé. He said he had people ready to make me disappear." "You believe him?" I didn't. Until I got to the venue. Security grabbed me before I even made it past the kitchen. They knew my name. My face. Everything. "You're lucky they didn't hurt you." "Oh, they didn't have to. Brandon already did that." The silence hung heavy after that. She stubbed out her cigarette and finally looked at me. Her eyes were red, but not from crying. She was past tears. "You gonna tell her?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. I didn't know. The thought of shattering Noelle's world made my stomach twist. But so did the thought of staying quiet while she married someone like him. "I need proof," I finally said. Mallory opened the duffel bag. Pulled out a phone. She scrolled for a moment, then handed it to me. Photos. Dozens of them. Her and Brandon together. At restaurants, on weekend trips, in her apartment. Texts too. Some of them. Graphic. Others are just sickeningly sweet. Him promised her forever. "I kept everything," she said. Part of me hoped I'd never need to use it. I nodded slowly, flipping through the messages. "One from last December. We'll tell her after the holidays." "I promise." Just give me time. He never told her. Never planned to. You want revenge? I asked her. She shook her head. No. I just want the lies to stop. I left the motel with her phone and a pit in my stomach. I didn't go home. Drove aimlessly for a while, ended up at a 24-hour diner off the highway. Got a coffee. Watched the rain hit the windshield for an hour. What the hell was I supposed to do? My sister was probably somewhere on a beach in Greece, sipping cocktails and posting honeymoon photos. Thinking she'd married Prince Charming. Thinking her life was finally on track. And here I was. A grease-stained HVAC tech, sitting in a booth at 2 in the morning with a phone full of proof that her new husband was a fraud. I thought about confronting Brandon first. Giving him a chance to come clean. But I knew how that would go. He'd deny it. Twist it. Maybe even threaten me. The guy didn't strike me as someone who played fair. But I had another idea. I remembered the girl from the kitchen. Blythe. She'd heard the same things I did, maybe more. I reached out to her again and asked her to meet me. We met in the parking lot behind the catering office. She was in her uniform, tired but curious. Look, I said, I'm not trying to drag you into this, but what you heard, what we both heard, it matters. And I think it could save my sister a lot of pain if she knew the truth. She hesitated, biting her lip. I could lose my job. I get it. But this guy's dangerous. He's trying to cover his tracks with hush money. He's hurting people. She looked around like someone might be listening. Then she pulled her phone from her pocket. I recorded part of it. Not all. Just the end. I don't know why. I guess something about the way they were talking gave me a bad feeling. She handed me her phone. I listened. Brandon's voice, she's not going to be a problem anymore. I made sure of it. If she shows her face, she'll regret it. The words hit harder the second time. My blood boiled. Can you send me that? I asked. She nodded. Yeah. By the time I got back to my place, I had a phone full of photos, texts, and a voice recording that would blow Brandon's little castle to dust. I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at it for a long time. I had everything I needed, but I still didn't know if I had the guts to do it. Because once I sent it, nothing would be the same again. I just laid there, fully dressed, staring at the ceiling, with my phone on my chest like it weighed 100 pounds. My apartment was silent, except for the low hum of the fridge in the kitchen. A fan spun lazily overhead, creaking every third turn like it was trying to say something I couldn't quite make out. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Noelle's face. Not from the wedding. Not with the makeup and the lights and the perfect hair. No, I saw her at 13, sitting on our front porch with skinned knees after she fell off her bike. I saw her in high school, standing on the gym floor after her cheer routine, grinning at me from across the bleachers like I was the only one clapping. I saw her the day our dad died, trying not to cry at the hospital while she clutched his wedding ring in her fist so hard it left a mark. She wasn't just my sister. She was one of the only people I ever really knew. And if I dropped this BMB, I wouldn't just be hurting her, I'd be ripping the floor out from under her whole life. But what's the alternative? Let her live in a lie? Let Brandon keep playing house while he sweeps his dirty little secrets under the rug? No, that wasn't happening. Around 6:30 in the morning, just as the first light started pushing through the blinds, I sat up, opened her contact, and typed a message. I need to talk to you. It's important. Call me when you're alone. I stared at the screen for maybe 5 minutes before hitting send. Then I waited. She didn't reply right away. I figured she was still asleep or busy doing honeymoon things. Maybe she saw it and thought I was being dramatic. I mean, hell, we hadn't exactly been close lately. What reason did she have to believe I had anything worth saying? By noon, I still hadn't heard from her. That's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to wait anymore. I uploaded the audio Blythe gave me to a private folder. Made a backup. Did the same with the photos and texts Mallory gave me, just in case Brandon got any ideas about making this disappear. Then I called him. It rang twice before he answered. Hallbrook, he said, already smug. Was wondering how long it'd take you to call. I've got what I need, I said. I'm giving you a chance to come clean. To her. You don't, I will. He was silent for a beat. Then I laughed. You think she'll believe you? Over me? She's in love, Theo. You're just the bitter brother with a chip on his shoulder. I've got proof. You've got lies, he snapped. And if you send them to her, I'll sue you for defamation. I'll bury you in court. I've got lawyers on retainer that eat people like you for lunch. You really want to try me? I said, keeping my voice steady. He hesitated. What do you want? For you to tell her. Yourself. Within 24 hours. And don't try to spin it. Just tell her what you did. And if I don't, then I will. And it won't just be a phone call. It'll be a forwarded email. Screenshots. Audio recordings. Sent to her, her friends, her coworkers. Hell, Maybe even your precious boss over at Trident Financial. You'd ruin a man's career over what? Some old texts and a bitter ex? I laughed. You ruined yourself. I'm just taking off the mask. He didn't answer after that. Just hung up. It felt good for a second. Like I'd taken back a little control. But the second the call ended, the anxiety came rushing in. What if this all backfired? What if Noel sided with him? What if he did sue me? I didn't care about the money. I'd sleep in my truck if I had to. But the thought of Noel hating me, that landed differently. That stuck somewhere behind my ribs. Around 9 p.m. I got a call. Unknown number. I answered, heart pounding. Theo, she said, voice shaking. I just talked to Brandon. Yeah. He told me someone was trying to blackmail him. Said it might be you. Of course he did. I didn't say anything. I just waited. But then he said a name. Mallory. Her voice cracked on the word. He said she was obsessed. That she showed up at the wedding and tried to cause a scene. That you were trying to use her to extort him. That you were unstable. Do you believe that? I asked. Silence. No, she said after a beat. Not really. But I don't know what to believe. Check your email, I said. I'd sent it 5 minutes before she called. Everything. The photos. The screenshots. The voice recording. A little note at the top. I wish I didn't have to show you this. But I can't let you live in a lie. The line was quiet for a long time. I could hear her breathing. Could almost picture her hand over her mouth. Eyes scanning the screen. Then she whispered, oh my God. I waited. He said he loved me, she said. Said he wanted a family. I know. He told me I was the only one. That the wedding was everything he'd ever wanted. I'm sorry. She didn't cry. Not yet. But I could hear her breaking. I need time, she said finally. I need to think. I'm here, I said. Whenever you're ready. She hung up without another word. I sat in the dark for a while, phone still in my hand, heart heavy as hell. The next 48 hours crawled by like time forgot how to move. I went to work. Changed filters. Fixed a busted blower motor on an ancient rooftop unit. Replaced a capacitor on a unit that whined like a dying animal. I kept my hands busy, but my mind wasn't cooperating. Every time I blinked, I saw Noelle's face from that phone call, what little I could picture of it through her voice. Every breath, every pause, every silence after one of my sentences. It was burned into me. She didn't call again. No texts. No updates. Just radio silence. Brandon didn't call either, which told me all I needed to know. He was either scrambling to contain the fallout or confident that whatever he said had worked. Either way, he wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I checked the wedding website because, yeah, they had one of those and saw the honeymoon itinerary still up. Santorini, Mykonos, Rome. Pictures of sunsets and champagne flutes. Brandon had posted a few new photos. Noel wasn't in any of them. That was the first real sign. The second came 3 days after our call. I was back at my place, sitting on the floor eating leftover pizza, when there was a knock on my door. Not the postman, not a neighbor. Not some package delivery. A solid knock. 3 times deliberate. I open it to find Noelle standing there. She wasn't dressed up. No jewelry, no makeup. Just jeans, an old hoodie from our high school days, and sunglasses she hadn't bothered to take off even though it was already dusk. Her carry-on was by her feet. I got in an hour ago, she said quietly. Can I come in? I stepped aside. She walked in, dropped her bag near the couch, then just stood there for a minute, arms crossed. I closed the door behind her. Want something to drink? She shook her head. I left him, she said finally. Told him I needed a few days to think, and then I packed up and left while he was in the shower. Didn't say goodbye. I didn't say anything. I figured she wasn't done. He tried to convince me you forged everything, she went on. Said the photos were photoshopped, the texts were fake, the audio was taken out of context. He actually stood there and said it with a straight face. Did you believe him? I asked. She finally looked at me. I wanted to, she said. I wanted so badly to believe that you were just being overprotective. That Mallory was just crazy. That Brandon wasn't that kind of man. But I know what a lie sounds like. She sat down on the couch, rubbed her temples like she had a headache that had been building for days. I kept thinking back to little things. Things I ignored. Nights he didn't come home. Trips he said were for work that I never questioned. Weird phone calls he'd take in the other room. And suddenly, it all made sense. I sat across from her. She pulled off her sunglasses, and I saw her eyes were red. She had cried. Not the quiet, graceful kind either. The kind that leaves you drained, hollowed out. Did you love him? I asked. Yeah, she whispered. I think I did. I nodded. Then you're allowed to grieve. Even if he didn't deserve it. There was a long silence between us. Not awkward. Just heavy. Why didn't you tell me sooner? She asked. I didn't know, I said. Not until the wedding. I heard something in the kitchen, went digging. I didn't plan to ruin anything. She gave me a half smile, bitter and tired. You didn't ruin anything. You saved me. I was walking into a trap with a blindfold on. She leaned back, stared at the ceiling like she was trying to keep from crying again. What do I do now? That's not a question I can answer. Do I go public? Do I tell people? Do I pretend it didn't happen and move on? Depends, I said. What do you want to do? She let out a long breath. I want him to hurt. Not physically, but I want him to feel something. I want him to know that I'm not stupid, that he didn't win. Then let's make that happen. She looked at me, brow furrowed. How? I picked up my phone and opened the folder of files again. All the receipts. I scrolled through them, pausing at a video file Blythe had sent over, a short clip she'd found from the catering security cameras. Grainy footage, but clear enough. Mallory being physically shoved away from the side door. Her face was full of panic. A man, one of Brandon's people, presumably, grabbing her arm. If we go public, I said, we don't just take down Brandon. We show who he really is. A manipulative liar who covered up a past relationship, threatened a woman, and tried to bribe a witness. There's more than one crime in there. Noelle blinked. You really think he'd go down? Reputation-wise? Absolutely. Career? Maybe not right away, but someone like him lives and dies by how they look. If we make the truth louder than his lies, it'll eat him from the inside out. She nodded slowly. You're not doing this because you want revenge, are you? No, I said. I'm doing it because you're my sister. And because people like him don't stop unless someone makes them. She stood up, walked over, and wrapped her arms around me. It caught me off guard. We hadn't hugged in years. Not really. Thank you, she whispered. I didn't say anything. Because I could feel, deep down, that the storm hadn't passed yet. We'd cracked the dam. But the flood was coming. The next few days moved like a slow-building storm. You know it's coming, you can feel the pressure in the air, but you're not sure how bad it'll get until it hits. Noelle stayed at my place while she got her bearings. She wasn't ready to talk to anyone else. Not Mom, not her friends, not even her coworkers. And honestly, I didn't blame her. Her phone buzzed constantly at first, texts from Brandon, a few from mutual friends asking where she'd gone. She didn't answer any of them. She just sat at the kitchen table in one of my old flannel shirts, drinking too much coffee and staring out the window like she was watching something far off and ugly that only she could see. Then, on the third day, she looked up at me and said, "Let's do it." And I knew exactly what she meant. We spent the whole evening putting it together. She didn't want a revenge post. No all-caps rants, no TikTok sob story. What she wanted was control. Her voice, her version, calm, clear, devastating. She wrote a letter. Not to Brandon. To everyone. She addressed it to the people who thought they knew me, and in the span of 5 paragraphs, she laid it all out. She didn't name Mallory, didn't stoop to insults. She just told the truth. About the woman Brandon had been seeing behind her back. About the texts. About the hush money. About the way he had a woman escorted from their wedding while smiling for photos 2 rooms away. She ended it with, "This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life." Instead, it was the clearest. I saw the man behind the suit. I saw the mask slip. And now I see myself more clearly than I ever have. I won't pretend for anyone anymore. I won't be silent for your comfort. I deserve better. And I'm going to start acting like it. We attached the screenshots, the audio clip, the security footage. Then we made a new email address, one with no ties to either of us. And we hit send. To her closest friends, to her boss, to her colleagues, to Brandon's company's HR department. And finally, to Brandon himself. She didn't say a word after we sent it. Just stared at the screen for a while, then closed the laptop and said, "I think I want pancakes." So we made pancakes at 11:30 at night and listened to some old Fleetwood Mac on the little Bluetooth speaker I use when I'm fixing up stuff around the apartment. And for the first time in what felt like forever, Noelle laughed. The fallout hit like a damn meteor. By the next morning, it was everywhere. Her post made its way to social media. One of her friends had copied it and shared it publicly, tagging Brandon. It started spreading like wildfire. Comments flooded in. Support. Outrage. People coming forward, saying they knew Brandon, had heard rumors, had always gotten weird vibes. His company put out a statement 2 days later saying they were investigating allegations of misconduct and reputational damage to the firm. Corporate Talk 4 were figuring out how to cut you loose without taking a PR hit. Brandon tried to call her. She never picked up. He tried to email her. Same. He even tried to show up at my apartment once, knocking like he had any right. I opened the door, Didn't say a word, just stared at him. His face was pale, hair messy, eyes bloodshot. "You ruined my life," he said, quiet and shaky. I tilted my head. "No, man. You did that." He opened his mouth like he was about to argue, then just turned and walked away. Never saw him again after that. Mallory reached out a week later. She'd seen the letter. She thanked Noelle. They met for coffee. I don't know what was said, but when Noelle came home, she looked lighter, like a weight had been lifted. She said, "We're not going to be friends, but we understand each other." That's enough. The wedding photos disappeared from the internet. Brandon's name got removed from the company's leadership page a week after that. He resurfaced on some startup's website a month later, doing something vague with digital innovation. Last I heard, he'd moved to a smaller city. Noelle? She went back to work. Started therapy. Got her own place, a small 2-bedroom across town with a balcony that overlooked a park. She started painting again, something she hadn't done since college. Said it helped her make sense of the mess in her head. We talked more, like we used to. Sunday dinners. Random texts during the week. I fixed her leaky sink. She helped me pick out new blinds. We were family again. For real this time. Not just by blood, but by choice. And me? Well, I didn't take the money Brandon offered me that day behind the kitchen door. But I got something better. I got to see my sister take her life back. And watching someone rise from the wreckage. Stronger, clearer, unstoppable. That's worth more than any envelope full of cash. No drama. No violence. No screaming match in a hotel lobby. Just the truth. Delivered with steady hands. And that's what finally took him down. Sometimes, revenge isn't about burning the house down. Sometimes it's about turning the lights on. And letting everyone see what was really crawling around in the dark.